Hey guys, Metal Jesus here. Now, I don't need to tell you, but the price of pretty much everything, including video games, has been going up lately. And so, because of that reason, I visited my local game stores looking for some good deals. Specifically, I wanted to look at last gen stuff, the Xbox One and also the PlayStation 4. So in this video, I'm going to recommend some games that you can pick up relatively cheap. Many of these are $15 or less, some of them way less than that. Let's take a look. I'm going to start off with a game that I will admit I should have played a long time ago. That is Mad Max. Now, my buddy Bo, when this first came out, told me about this game and said it was going to be right up my alley. And honestly, I don't know why I didn't play this game when it first came out. I think there was just other stuff around that was grabbing my attention, but I'm glad that I went back and checked it out. As of the making of this video, you can still pick this game up for anywhere from $10 on the Xbox One up to, say, $15 on the PlayStation 4. Basically what this game is, it's an open world, post-apocalyptic game where you play as Mad Max and you're going around battling gangs and raiders as he tries to upgrade his car. He's called his car the Magnum Opus. What makes this game somewhat unique is that the majority of your time in this game is spent in that car, and you are cruising around just beating the tar out of these raiders. So the game really focuses a lot on car combat, and, you know, as an arcade racing fan myself, and also a fan of this movie, well, that's a good time. But you don't spend all of the time in your car. You will get out and take on missions where you try to get parts for it, scraps to basically help you try to upgrade it. And with that, you'll get better engines, better armor, tires, etc. For instance, you can add a weapon to it like a harpoon gun, which will allow you to tear down structures. Also in combat, time slows down whenever you activate the harpoon, and so you can aim at, say, a car door and rip it off, or maybe you can shoot it at the driver and then yank him out of his car. It never gets old. There's also flamethrowers and even a sniper rifle and a bunch more. There is hand-to-hand combat, and it feels very similar to me to the Batman Arkham series, where you need to kind of focus your attention on the different enemies that will quickly surround you and overwhelm you if you don't manage them well. So you'll be beating the tar out of them, and then as they surround you, you'll get, like, in this case, a triangle where that'll shift your focus over and you'll block him. And basically, again, kind of like the Batman games, you're always doing this sort of beat 'em up dance with these guys to keep them at bay and try to win the battle. Now again, I'm not entirely sure why it took me so long to check this game out, because I'm glad I finally did. And at this price, you don't really have an excuse. Next up is Battlefield Hardline, and I was able to find this for between $5 and $6 depending on the Xbox or the PlayStation 4 version. Right off the bat, you have to know that this is a very different game from the other entries in the Battlefield franchise. Usually these games focus on big military battles, but for this one, it's more like a police drama and kind of plays out like a TV show or movie. In this game, you play as a cop that gets tangled up in this kind of messy drug war that may or may not involve different members of your own police force. Levels mostly take place in and around Miami as you discover who's involved in letting these drugs and these gangs kind of run rampant all over the streets. Overall, the story is kind of predictable, especially if you are familiar with this genre and you watch a lot of this type of stuff, but I do think it's very well acted and the levels are really cool. It kind of reminds me of, I guess, more of the Call of Duty type games, probably more than that than, say, a typical Battlefield game, but I did finish this one. I sat down and played it over a couple nights, and I loved it. And the great thing is, it's not very long. It's about, I don't know, probably 6 or 7 hours, so it doesn't overstay its welcome. And I definitely had a good time with it. And again, at this price, if you like these kind of games, why not check it out? Moving on, next is a game I'm very excited to check out. This was recommended to me time and time again. It is Zombieland Double Tap Road Trip. For this game, I was able to find a copy of the game for the Xbox One at around $7. However, just be aware that sometimes the PlayStation 4 version can be, well, it'll be a little bit more than that. I was able to find it for just under $15, so you might need to shop around. As you can see here, this is a twin-stick shooter, but it takes place between those two movies. So after the first one, but before the second one. And the cool thing is, it features all of those lovable, kind of wacky characters. And I love these movies. If you haven't seen them before, they're not really parodies. They're kind of just, well, they're like survival horror, but with comedy in them. I guess that's how you would describe them. But basically, they're hilarious, they're awesome, they're usually overly gory, and I just don't know why this game passed me by. But like I said, a lot of you reached out and said I should definitely check it out, and I'm glad that you did. I think the main complaint that a lot of people had with this is that it's pretty short. It really only lasts about 2 to 3 hours, and when this first came out, it was a $40 purchase, which, you know, admittedly, a lot of people are like, that doesn't necessarily sound like it's worth the money. But now that the game is way cheaper, maybe its price is kind of in line with its length. Either way, if you're fans of the movie and twin-stick shooters, you probably should check this one out. Next up is Need for Speed Heat. So I was able to find this game for about $10 on the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4. Now, let's be honest here. For a couple of years now, the Need for Speed series wasn't doing that great with racing fans. When you think back to this time, the games that came before Heat, some of them required an always connected console. I think one of them, you had to be connected to the internet to even pause the game, which is so weird. Also, some of these games were being just inundated with loot boxes and microtransactions and, just a bunch of stuff that fans were, I don't know, they're starting to get kind of pissed. And because of that, a lot of people like myself started ignoring this franchise. Well, thankfully, Need for Speed Heat is considered a bit of a return or reboot for the series, where it basically just focuses on one big open world racing with not a lot of sort of unnecessary distractions. And I do think for the most part, they nailed it. But was it too late? I mean, it seemed like a lot of people like myself, we kind of ignored this game when it first came out because we had moved on to Forza Horizon, which kind of picked up the gauntlet a little bit, and those games are excellent. But now that years have passed and I've gone back to check out Heat, well, I can see that now this is actually a really good Need for Speed game, and it's one that you can quickly get pretty addicted to.
This is not a game. Stop your car. All right, that's enough. 4221 to control.
Basically, this is an open world version of Miami, and then they divide it into day and night races. If you choose to race in the day, you'll get officially sanctioned races that will earn you money towards buying new cars, new upgrades, things like that. But if you choose to race at night, well, all of the races are illegal, and so the cops are out waiting for you. So it's because of this risk you can build up at night your reputation, which then advances the story. So it's not a 24-hour cycle like the previous games, and instead, in this one, again, you will choose when during the day or night you'll want to race. That's not to say that there isn't sort of a change in the level, though. Like, for instance, during the day, you'll see that actually like a storm will roll in and you'll get some clouds and some rain and things like that. But it's just different enough to make it feel kind of unique compared to some of the previous ones. And I have to say that I like that it's set in Miami. It feels like a really good location to set a Need for Speed game. I like driving around the city. It looks great. And then you can get outside of the city a little bit. And again, it's just beautiful to explore. Now, let's be clear. This is not my favorite Need for Speed game. In some ways, it does feel a little bit generic. So it's not perfect, but I do think it is a very good one. And again, at that price, if you're looking for another arcade racing game, check it out. Oh yeah, baby. Next up is a game I feel like I talk a lot about, but I'm going to do it again, and that is Titanfall 2. First off, I had to add it on this list because I do really like this game, and honestly, for $3 on the Xbox One or $5 on the PlayStation 4, this is an amazing steal. So, what's going on here? Well, as you can see, it is a first-person shooter, but the difference here is that you control your character both on foot and then when they climb into these like towering mechs. And it's more than just a gimmick too, because the scale and the perspective changes depending on if you're on foot or in this mech. And it's cool because, you know, sometimes you'll need to hop out of the mech to maybe like flip a switch or something or open a door, but then at other times you'll have to hop into that mech just to survive like a battle. It's awesome. Another cool feature about this game is it has a wall run mechanic. And, you know, in the past I had tried games that would have this kind of feature in there, and it was always sort of awkward to try to jump on the wall and then get off the wall in a way that didn't feel clunky. And I have to say that Titanfall is the first game I've played with a wall run mechanic that just feels very natural. I was able to pick this up really quickly in the tutorial, and after that, I loved it. And for me, this game is all about the single player campaign, which is filled with a bunch of colorful characters. It's got some big set pieces and some really interesting levels to explore. Listen, I'm going to keep singing the praises of this game because at the time when I first played it, and well, even today when I'm capturing some of this footage, I still love it. It's still a surprise. And again, for $5 or less, if you like these kind of games, you have no excuse to not check this out. All right, now for something completely different. This is Assassin's Creed Origins. So I was able to find this for $8 on the Xbox One and $9 on the PlayStation 4. And if I'm being honest, I've kind of fallen in and out of love with the Assassin's Creed franchise for a while now. I remember really loving the second one, but then kind of skipping over, I think, the third one. Played a little bit of Black Flag. But now I'm coming back and really digging Origins. It just seems like this is the kind of franchise that you can skip a couple years and still be okay, but then come back to this one, you know, or one like this. And I do feel like this is a good one to jump back in if it's been a while since you played these. The one thing about it that I really like is that it takes place in ancient Egyptian times at around about 40 BC. And like some of the other ones, there's a lot of political upheaval. And this one's really cool because you get to meet a bunch of pharaohs, including Cleopatra and even Julius Caesar and a bunch more. I'm just a sucker for that kind of era, and I feel like it really lends itself well to this Assassin's Creed style. And it's fun to explore the open world, again, especially in Egypt when you're exploring pyramids and tombs, you know, kind of like almost like a stealthy Indiana Jones or something. Listen, I know this franchise tends to just kind of run together. I feel like they've maybe released too many of them. And also the overall sci-fi piece of Eden aspect to it, the plot is kind of confusing. But I do really dig the core gameplay. And again, at this price, why not check it out? All right, next is something that you may not be expecting. That is a game called Foreclosed. And I was able to find a copy of this for about $8. Now, this game may not be for everybody because it's not as polished as some of the others on this list, but I do think it's worth checking out. So, as you can see here by the footage, it is a cyberpunk third-person action game where you play as this guy who is involved in this kind of shadowy corporate conspiracy that's basically involving the implants that he has in his body. In the beginning of this game, you're being chased by people who want to kill you, and you're not entirely sure why. However, there's this lady who is helping you, and along the way, she starts unlocking more abilities, which I guess to me started feeling very similar to the Deus Ex series, where then you can hack terminals, you can see through walls, you can use different weapons, stuff like that. However, I should say that this is not as polished as Deus Ex, not by a long shot, but you can definitely see the similarities there. Maybe they were influenced by it. Despite looking pretty cool, its main issue really is that combat just gets really dull and repetitive after a while. And honestly, the enemies are not very smart. I mean, there are times when literally they're just standing there shooting at a wall trying to hit you. So you kind of have to look past the combat a little bit in this game, but the story is pretty cool and the world is definitely fun to explore. And it's not a very long game. You can beat this game in about 3 to 4 hours. So at that price, I think it feels pretty good. Next up is another game that I finished recently, and I was surprised to see that you can buy it relatively inexpensively. That, of course, is Metro Exodus. You know, I'm not entirely sure why this game is so cheap. I was able to find copies for less than $10 on the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4. Maybe it's because the next gen versions of it also came out on the PS5 and the Xbox Series X. That's actually the footage that you're seeing here, and that's what I played and beat a couple weeks ago. But I don't think you'll be missing much if you get the previous gen versions of it. Also, I know that some people were turned off on the previous games because those primarily were trapped in these kind of endless tunnels and buildings. But what I like about this game is that it breaks out of that and gets the player outside of the city. Basically, this is a post-apocalyptic first-person shooter that mixes in a little bit of survival horror and a little bit of stealth. But more than that, you also get some great characters and some laugh-out-loud humor. I was very surprised by this because when you look at this game from the outside, it looks very dark, very depressing. And yes, the environment is, the whole scenario of the game is, but I was very surprised how much humor and character was in this game. I really liked it a lot. Now, you should know going into this that this is the third game in the series based on some books. However, I don't think you need to actually play the first two to enjoy this one. I certainly didn't, and there is a nice recap at the beginning of the game. Plus, I don't know. I mean, it's not a very complicated story. At least it didn't seem like it. And so I was able to jump into this one, played it all the way to the end, and absolutely loved it. So don't let that turn you off on this. I think you'll quickly figure it out. This is truly an epic game, has a lot of really cool places to explore. Like I said, the characters are really cool. You get attached to them, you want to fight for them, you know, and plus it's just got a lot of fun surprises in the plot too. Again, I'm not going to give anything away. All I'm going to say is it's highly recommended. Now, here's something completely different from that, and that is the Trine Ultimate Collection. I was able to find copies of this for around $10. What's cool about this is that there is a lot of bang for the buck here. There is actually 4 games included in this collection. If you're not familiar with this franchise, basically these are platform/puzzle games. And the main mechanic here is that you play and swap between 3 different characters. So you have a wizard, a thief, and a knight, and each of these have their own skills and abilities. And this is not just a gimmick either, because you will constantly be switching between them depending on the situation. For instance, if you need to get up on a ledge, the wizard can summon a box and also use magic. The thief can shoot ropes and also use a grappling hook to swing over to those ledges. And then when enemies show up and try to stop you, well, the knight is really best in hand-to-hand combat. And that's just really kind of an overview or a simplification of it, because this game and its puzzles get very tricky and also pretty cool, because you'll need to be switching back and forth between those different characters all the time. And so this is a great value. However, I do want to mention that a lot of fans don't necessarily like the third game that much. The third game ended up pushing the game a little bit more into the 3D realm, and a lot of people didn't like that. So just be aware that for the most part, people really love the second game and the fourth game. Admittedly, I have only played the fourth game, and I loved it. So that's a great place to jump in. These games aren't very complicated when it comes to story, so you don't have to play from the beginning. You certainly can, but just be aware that the third game is one that you probably don't want to start on. I guess that's kind of what I'm getting at. So anyways, guys, that is a quick look at some games from last generation that you can pick up for about $15 or less. Obviously, a lot of games were released during that generation, and this is definitely not an exhaustive list of good deals out there. I would be curious to know if you've seen some good deals on games on, say, the Xbox One, the PlayStation 4, or the Switch. Please post a comment down below. And as always, guys, I want to thank you for watching my channel. Thank you for subscribing, and take care.